What has been will be again. What is done will be done again. There is nothing new under the sun. Or in the design world, I saw that shit on Pinterest, so I copied it. For real though, maybe it's true that everything we create is derivative from something in the past. But in this video, I want to dive into how maybe that really isn't such a bad thing. I want to chat about a few things. How no design work is necessarily original. Show some of my influences, style, and references. Why stealing is okay if done right. And how once you stop worrying about being so unique, you can focus on being good. So while I gather some inspiration and work on a new piece in my hardcore alphabet series, let's start with how no design work is original. I truly believe that everything we create stems from something or somewhere. Even if in our mind it's our idea, it's still coming from some external source in the universe. And yeah, this does mean that art and design is both cyclical and derivative, but that doesn't mean it has to be bad. If you look around at different styles of art and design, you'll see many common threads and references made to each other. You may see a dope poster on Instagram from one of your favorite designers, and for some reason you feel like you've seen it before, but you can't quite put your finger on it. And this may or may not be true. But what is certainly a fact, though, is that inspiration came from somewhere. Whether it's from books, online sources, or even just an idea that popped into your head, I've started to realize it's kind of just one big collective consciousness thing, and different styles of art and design are just floating around in the zeitgeist for anyone to grab and pull from. I think when people first start in any type of creative field, they have this fascination with creating something 100% new, something that hasn't been seen before that they can add to the conversation. In pursuit of that, we can sometimes miss the beautiful stuff that has been done in the past and those things that we can learn from. Find your favorite designer out there and then ask them or find out who their references and inspirations are. And from there, you can go down that rabbit hole deeper and deeper until you have this pool of knowledge to learn from and make something into your own through an amalgamation of different creative lenses. With that being said, let me tell you a bit about where my work stems from. I think these days I'm finally starting to have somewhat of a recognizable style, something that feels like me. That wasn't always the case though. However, lately, when I sat back and just kind of analyzed my own work, that permanent glue or Jesse style, I narrowed it down to 3 core principles and 3 inspirations from the past that helped inform those 3 principles. So the 3 principles or themes, whatever you want to call it, are this: good texture, good layout, and good typography. But I was not always good at those 3 things. And like anything, it took time, and I'm not at the level I even want to be at, but I have gotten better. And I did feel like naturally I was better at those 3 things than other artistic skills, maybe like drawing or color and imagery. And with that in mind, I decided to keep honing in on the skills I already felt somewhat confident in, rather than trying to improve on the ones that I wasn't so good at. And those 3 main principles all come from 3 different types of work I admire. Firstly is the DIY Xerox style aesthetic from the punk scene in the 70s and 80s. Second is good layout and grids from Swiss design and art history periods like the International typographic style. And lastly, beautiful vintage typography from retro album arts, mainly from the 50s through the 80s. Combining these 3 things, I think, creates a nice juxtaposition of styles that would otherwise be clashing. So quickly, I'd like to chat about why I gravitate towards these 3 things the most, and hopefully inspire you to find your own interests and passions to bring into your own art. So first up, in the DIY kind of punk style scene, the thing that I gravitate towards the most is concert flyers. And these are so beautiful because the freedom that they have. A lot of these flyers are better than most posters you see out in the world today, and they were not created by designers. It was members of bands, friends, and local artists, and just others in the community coming together to promote something they love, and naturally, it created a style in the scene that people ran with. The offset type, grungy textures, and often controversial or jarring imagery are what help make this style stand out so much. I love the chaos and freedom this style brings, but always thought it could benefit just a little bit by having some of the so-called graphic design fundamentals brought into it. That is where my spin on this world comes in. To learn more about that good layout and design fundamentals, especially grids, I learned from this second reference: Swiss design posters and a more minimalist typographic style. This is the style that I fell in love with in college. Taking such a limited selection of fonts, imagery, and colors, and packing it into such a nicely structured layout was inspiring to me. And I don't think you've ever really become a graphic designer until you go down that cliche rabbit hole of loving Helvetica and minimalism. And I love these types of designs so much because they showed that less can be more, and at times why graphic design is slightly separated from the fine art world and how it communicates information and just has its own kind of through line and aesthetic. Learning from design masters and how to work within grids and tight layouts surprisingly made me feel more free as a designer. This movement and style showed me how much creativity there can be when you add in restrictions. Now, to round it all off is my last piece of inspiration, and that is vintage album art. The DIY scene and the Swiss design style is cool, but where are all the dope typefaces? We can only use handwritten, grungy type and grotesque sans serifs for so long until the layout yearns for more. And I love vintage album art because the typography is often the focal point, and it allows for so many beautifully curated layouts and compositions. And this is a type of style that makes me proud to be a graphic designer and something I aspire to create in my own footprint. Diving deeper into some of this stuff, you have fonts like Franklin Gothic, Cabell, Clarendon, that all opened up a whole new world for me to learn from and apply to my own work. So go check out some of that stuff if you're interested in my design work at all and want to learn from some of my inspirations. And also, I'd love to hear what styles and pieces of work inspire you. So drop a comment below so we can all learn some new things and check out some cool shit. The third thing I want to talk about is stealing. Hearing me talk about all these things that inspire me, you may start to think, he's just stealing from those styles. And yeah, that may be true to an extent, but I do think that stealing from many sources is okay, and that is inspiration. But when you steal from one source directly, then it's just plain copying. This author, Austin Kleon, spoke about these ideas best in his book, Steal Like an Artist. So if you haven't heard about that one for some reason, go check it out. But I'll try to give you a little bit of my own take. I think as artists and designers, we need insight, whether it be in others' work, different mediums, or even real life experiences. When you take all that information in and combine it with your own perspective, it results in creating something anew. Directly copying does the opposite. Does not expand on the work at all. It does not change anything or add something from the past, but only moves it either downward or to the side. And yeah, there are spaces in time where I think directly copying another individual's work or doing a study of a type of work is okay, as long as you're transparent about this process and are not profiting off of it from a money, connections, or career advancement standpoint. We all have to start somewhere, and often replicating the people you look up to the most can kind of help you become a better designer, help with the decision fatigue of creating, and allow you to actually get into practicing the process. At the end of the day, even if you copy something directly, for better or for worse, it won't be the same. Naturally, humans are incapable of creating an exact duplicate of anything. Your own errors, skill difference, personality, taste, and all of that will shine through. So just, keep track of the things you like, create some kind of mental or physical bank of inspiration to pull from when you need that spark in your next creative project. Once you add your own taste and flavor into a piece of work, it will inherently be something new to add to the conversation. We may never create something entirely original, but it won't be exactly the same either. That brings me to my final point. Why do we have this fascination with being original anyway? We all want to stand out and be unique, but in the pursuit of that, we sometimes miss the point. When you finally stop worrying about making something original, you can focus on making something that is good. We can get inspired from the work around us and go out and make things rather than be crippled by this anxiety of having to be so unique or being a perfectionist, really. And for the sake of the argument, let's say you do make something entirely unique. That does not mean it will be good necessarily. Original is not a synonym for good. Some of the best work comes from collaborating and art that is derived from the past and expanded on in a modern way. And I don't want to be misinterpreted either. We should try our best to come up with what we may think are our own ideas and add something different to the conversation, sure. But just be okay with using the stuff from the past and learning from it and applying it to the stuff you want to create now. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. Sometimes you just got to reshape it. Those are just some thoughts I've been having lately, and I finally got around to articulating it into some kind of decent write-up. I encourage you all to go out there, live your life, pull from all these experiences and gain inspiration, so when you get back into the lab, you can create something cool. Much love, and I'll see you next time. Peace.